Jordan, we okay? Look good?
Zoom just a little bit more. There we go. That's good right there.
Fire away. We got you.
Tom Osborne, go ahead.
Just your thoughts on Porter and Jokic and the great games that they had.
Yeah, Porter's, he's a fine young talent, and Jokic, he's like a reincarnation of Larry Bird. He does everything. He's amazing. They were great.
Greg Popovich with a little hype. A little hype for you.
Hypecast, baby.
Yeah, well, not quite a hypecast.
Oh, right.
I don't think it's.
I forgot what we were talking about.
Not fully a hypecast. But you know what? Not a full-on losers lounge, if I'm being honest. Not a full-on losers lounge. It's like a half losers lounge.
Moral winners lounge.
It's definitely not a winners lounge. I'm not doing that thing. But welcome in everybody to the DNVR live show, the losers lounge.
It's been worse.
It has been worse.
I lose a lot, Adam, in life.
There was a loss that taught a few lessons, I feel, for the Denver Nuggets. They dropped to the Portland Trail Blazers, boo, 125-115, in what I would describe as a weird game. Brendan, it was strange how it happened. This did not go down the way I thought it was going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Denver was going to lose by, that lead got up to 10-15 a lot. I thought it was going to look like that all game.
Yeah.
A great start and a great finish by MPJ changed things. But look, this was a weird game in that it meant completely different things to these two teams playing.
Oh, totally.
I mean,
yeah.
Damian Lillard played this like a Game 7, and
Yeah.
Michael Malone played it like a preseason game. And so I think it's okay to not be too discouraged by that result.
So just to highlight that, Nikola Jokic tonight, 23.5 minutes. Damian Lillard tonight, 41 minutes. So to just kind of highlight that, you're talking about your two teams' best stars. Jokic was on the court for less than half of the game tonight. But at the same time, it still is a loss. And not only is it a loss, it's a loss to Portland. It's kind of a drag. Could have done it. Tonight, had they have won this game, Portland would actually fallen behind Phoenix, of all played people. Somehow Phoenix would have,
4-0
jumped
in
into
the bubble,
19.
right?
Yeah.
Phoenix?
What's going on?
They're
I
not
have
bad.
no idea.
They're not a bad team.
Remember earlier in the
know if that's
season
true.
I declared them as good?
I do.
I
I think
them
it's
as
aging
good.
well, D-Lanka.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They could have used some help from the Nuggets tonight, but
Got
Malone
that
didn't
mic
care at all.
pointed at your forehead. It's very interesting.
I'm
direction that you
I'm
have
not a
there.
professional.
I'm an artist.
I
I'm a graphic designer.
No, but the thing that I think everybody's going to try to focus in on, and we can talk about it first because I think it's the story of the game. The Nuggets actually took the lead in the fourth quarter. You mentioned it, Brendan. It felt like Portland kept taking the lead. Denver kept fighting back, taking the lead. Denver finally overtakes them in the fourth quarter, and I felt certain they were going to win it as soon as they put Nikola Jokic back in the game.
And then you just kept waiting for that part.
And I just kept waiting. And Michael Malone clearly prioritized, hey, we're going to play some of these young guys. Harrison Wind, our other colleague, obviously the empty chair over here, he's going to be joining the show in just a minute and letting us know what Michael Malone had to say after the game, letting us know what the players had to say. But it was very clear that Michael Malone valued health.
Yeah.
Prioritized health over trying to win this game,
Right.
Which is fine. I'm all for it. It makes sense. But they could have freaking won this game.
Yeah, that makes
They could have won this
that
one.
makes
And it would have
sense.
been you'd have been riding such a high. I just feel like it's funny in the moment. Like if you told me before the game that was the plan, I'd say okay. You tell me in that moment,
Right.
you say yeah, but you had it. It was right there. I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of a boss move, frankly.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because it's sort of like, oh, you guys need this game. I know you need this game. Like, you can have it. Whatever.
Yeah.
You think you can beat us. Like, you've got us down up against the ropes, but, like, we don't care. You know?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think there's, like, something that's, like, kind of powerful about that, honestly.
Something powerful. I don't feel so powerful at the moment though. but what do you got?
I mean, look, once it was a winnable game, I think, especially because it's Portland. And I don't think Malone cares about this stuff, but like from a fan perspective, putting the hammer down on a team trying to get in, just kind of furthering that mental advantage that I think Denver sort of has over Portland when at full strength. Damon and Nurk gave everything they had. It would have
everything.
been
I mean, Damian Lillard tonight has 45 points.
One of the best games of his career, and this is a guy with a great career.
45 points tonight in 41 minutes. Did everything. I mean, honestly, he rested for 7 minutes in this game. I mean,
with how hard those two guys played, I mean, if you were to come and steal this game, what a fun victory and leg up that
this
would
winners
have been.
lounge would have been hyped. He had a great crowd at the DNVR bar tonight.
Unbelievable. I put out earlier in the game, I was like, man, I'm so glad I did not get emotional. Like, I know not to get emotionally invested in this game. Like, I kind of saw this script playing out even before it started.
For
where
sure.
It's, like, I didn't even think it was going to be close, frankly, but I just knew, like, who cares?
Well, let's get to the positive part of that, and that is that it was close, and it wasn't. Look, Jokic tonight, we're going to talk a lot about his game, because 23 minutes, he only had 8 points, but 13 assists, 5 rebounds. I said this on last show. I said it on the Notebook episode that I did solo. The ball is starting to get popping.
Yeah.
And it's starting to, with this specific unit that they have out there, it's starting to get to be in my opinion, the exact type of offense Jokic loves to run, where everything goes through him. Everybody on the roster, including Michael Porter, yields to him, and he's just orchestrating it. And even though he only played 23 minutes, when he was out there tonight, it just felt like the old Jokic at the center of everything.
And this is without Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, and Will Barton. That obviously makes a difference. So whatever you want to think about Jokic's demeanor, I think his play has been extremely encouraging so far.
Oh my God.
And this was another really good game. You're right. At one point I went, all right, it's just Murray and Jokic on offense, but maybe it'll be fun to watch MPJ hit some shots. But over these last 2 games, there's been a handful of possessions. There's been a handful of possessions where the ball pops, and I think that's really encouraging.
Yeah, the ball popping is just that's how you're going to get the best use of you. And I'll tell you what, Michael Porter tonight, he had an interesting night because 27 points for him on 10 of 18 shooting, which for him is almost bad at this point, but it's still 56% shooting.
We should just pencil him for 30 points a night now, right?
4 of 7 from the 3-point line. I mean, the dude's jumper is crazy, and you can't really block it. But here's what I liked about it. Tonight's game, to me, for Michael Porter, isn't defined by the 27 points. It was defined by Gary Trent Jr., who he has a history with. These two go back to the AAU days. Our own Kristen Peak has let us in on the scoop about this. But back in the Peach, what is it, the Peach Hoop Summit, I think, in Atlanta. It's like one of the big EYBL tournaments. They went back and forth, had a little one-on-one battle. Gary Trent gets the better of him in the regular season of that tournament, and then in the elimination round, Michael Porter gets the better of him. So they have a little bit of history, but what I like is Gary Trent Jr. is a dog. Gary Trent Jr. had a night for himself, but he was in Michael Porter's grill all night, and I thought Michael Porter sort of went down. Like he got it. He took a couple hits and he hit the mat, but he got back up, and in that fourth quarter, I thought he was going to get the team back in it with some big cojones.
That's a great point. I thought he was outplayed by Gary Trent Jr. tonight, and it was still an encouraging performance for the exact reason you just described. He did respond in the fourth. Gary Trent Jr. was physical, got away with a lot of contact.
Had some swagger to him. I kind of like him.
But that's a good teaching moment for Michael Porter Jr. because, man, you scored 30 or almost 33 games in a row. Dude, there's a target on your back now. And in the playoffs, you think Gary Trent Jr. stuff, it's going to be Kawhi. It's going to be. So it's good for him to learn that regardless of his talent level, at some point it will get harder.
Yeah.
At some point it'll get harder.
Eric's being a little quiet because he was recording a podcast on golf, I believe.
I was recording a pod. I'm dressed for golf. I played golf.
You are dressed for golf.
I'm wearing shorts. I don't feel great about it.
Yeah.
But what are we gonna do? I just can't believe I have fallen asleep. And I've woken up into a new reality where Michael Porter Jr. is just scoring 30 points every game.
I mean, we almost can pencil it in. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about him, but the first thing I want to ask you about him, we know the talent is there. And when people talk about talented players, Karl-Anthony Towns, incredibly talented.
Right.
Underrated how talented he is.
Right.
Hasn't found success in the NBA because, in my opinion, he's missing some things. Devin Booker's really starting to make some leaps. Same thing.
Right.
Is he supremely talented? Absolutely. Michael Porter, I think we know, is uniquely talented like a Karl-Anthony Towns. What we don't know is how he handles all these other things. And tonight, we got to see his mettle get tested a little bit tonight. Would you say, I know you didn't see the game, would you say you have any kind of read on how mentally tough Michael Porter is as a player?
I mean, it's kind of been, no, not really.
I agree.
Not really, just because the Nuggets have sort of been completely out of it or just sort of coasting ahead. Like, these games haven't meant a lot, and just by testament to the fact that Michael Malone is completely willing to take his foot completely off the gas and sacrifice it. That tells you the mentality that probably the entire team is going into these games with.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, Portland obviously wants this game, needs this game. They are giving them everything that they have, and what you're telling me is that he stepped up.
Yeah, what about you, Vogt? Do you feel like you have any kind of read on Michael Porter Jr. mentally tough when somebody sort of hits him in the mouth?
Yeah, because I think Michael Malone's hit him in the mouth all year. There's a real take.
And it's a real take, and it's a good one.
And he's responded.
It's also a funny one.
Particularly game 2 after game 1. They've been texting a lot. I mean, Malone's challenging him. I know you're great. You got to be great on both ends. Michael Porter Jr. loves basketball. I think that's clear. Michael Porter Jr. wants to get better. And this is a guy who, with an injury history, with a sort of frail body type, has not been afraid to play hard and play physical. So we've got more to learn, but he's a gamer in my opinion.
It's so crazy. Like if you didn't know anything about Michael Porter Jr. and you looked at that guy and described him as a frail body type.
Oh, I know.
I know. It's
you
a
just
little...
look at him, and it's the same with Yoke, right? Like I think Yoke is pretty mentally tough. I think he's actually physically tough too, but he looks like a big softy, you know.
I've been so impressed with Jokic over this last stretch.
I'm telling you, I mean, he's playing the type of basketball he loves. 13 assists tonight, and he had 13 assists in 23 minutes. What would he have had if he played 40 minutes tonight?
With the basketball
like
team,
24 assists or something. He might have got for Scott Skiles' record of 30 assists in a game. So I agree. Like Yoke, I feel really good about. But I do have some questions here, though. Him and Michael Porter they just seem to be on the same wavelength, man.
Absolutely.
I really dig the chemistry that they have there.
It's beautiful. Those back cuts.
The back cuts are incredible. And just honestly, Matt Moore asked me this the other day when we were doing a pod together, where he said, like, as you know, because as a passer, do you enjoy playing with a guy like Michael Porter, who's such a volume shooter, volume scorer? And I said, if they make him, it's your favorite thing to play with, because as a passer, you're always looking for somebody that can finish the play you're creating. Michael Porter is just like an elite finisher, whether that's on the catch and shoot or whether that's at the rim. He's just such an elite finisher. So I love the chemistry that I'm seeing with them. And I'm telling you, Jamal and Jokic have incredible chemistry as well. I think the Michael Porter-Jokic chemistry is already getting close to the same level.
Which is why the real question is what happens to either of those dynamics when all three of them are on the court at the same time. And those are the questions we can't answer yet.
Well, another thing, when we talked about this for a couple years, Denver's offense 3 years ago, the ball's popping, felt like all the time. They've become a better team, but the ball, we're almost never even, you say those words, the ball is popping. I feel like it's been popping these last couple games, and I don't want to like bring this down or try to like, obviously there's an implication here, but I'm just wondering, like, what is it about that Jamal Murray Jokic two-man game seems so good? Can we add all these pieces to kind of get it all coming together so the ball's popping and you have the best talent?
I mean, don't you think some part of it is the fact that Michael Porter Jr. is not an on-ball player, and you need to get the ball popping to get it into his hands? Jamal Murray is an on-ball player, so the fact that the two of them can just sort of like go into their little corner and create the offense.
Less dribbling.
There's an interesting stat here that when we were doing the preview for the series, we were talking about Nikola Jokic, and I had to come up with a key stat for him. And I ended up coming with 3-point percentage, but one of the ones I wanted to do was touches per game, because he leads the NBA in touches per game.
Jokic does?
Jokic does. He leads, but he's like 70th on time of possession, because it's always quick touches, right? He's always doing quick things with the basketball. But some of the most iconic games, Milwaukee, Utah, you think even Philadelphia in that fourth quarter, those games, Jokic's touches through the roof.
Yeah.
Like 50 more touches than in an average game, and even on a per minute basis, it's like through the roof. And I just think like Denver is almost always at their best when he's I almost want to say like only decision maker, or at least like making decisions 85% of the time. And everybody's obviously involved in the action, but they're just always deferring to him to make the decisions. I think we're seeing that with the group that they're playing with right now, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Strong agree. I got nothing for you. You nailed it.
We have Michael Porter Jr. highlights though. Let's go to the good stuff here. We can see them on our monitor, and let's take a look at his game, because 27 points. Even though Gary Trent Jr. Oh, we still don't have that. We still don't have him. Okay,
we'll do it live.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's all right. We'll save those for later for rate the highlight. What about questions coming in, Vote? Are you on question duty?
Well, I have seen some questions before we even started, and I want to address this. Some people were wondering if this was another seeding tinkering job, which I don't buy it. It's too early, and also, if the goal was to tank this game, then just don't play Jokic at all.
Yeah.
You can get away with that. You just go, hey, we're not going to win this game. We're exhausted. It's Tyler Cook. It's Bol.
So I don't think it was that, because it's 4 games, and literally everybody's going to move between now and then.
Obviously we know the Nuggets are not above this, but I don't think that's what was happening here.
What would be what would they be trying to accomplish?
To try to sync up to try to get a particular matchup, avoid a particular matchup, but more to the point, people are wondering, were they wanting to lock Portland into that 8 seed because of what it does to the LA matchup? I think that's a little too galaxy brain this early on, to be honest. I'll just address that.
Yeah, like not changing their own seeding, but allowing Portland to get in and give a little work to the Lakers. I see.
Yeah. I mean, look, I do think that's one positive. I think Portland, by far, will give the Lakers the toughest run for their money. Yeah. And Portland, this game, it doesn't solidify that they're going to get it, but it really does help sort of keep them in that thing. I just don't think Denver's thinking that far in advance. I think Denver's thinking Jokic is carrying this team, as he seems to do every year when everybody gets hurt every year. I mean, let's not lie. Murray's been hurt Barton's been hurt now several years in a row. Gary Harris been hurt several years in a row. So I think this was just Michael Malone saying, "You guys take a rest."
Harrison Wind. That was a quick flight back from Orlando. This joke.
We need
sucks.
a Harrison Wind enters the chat.
I know.
Song. Pull that in close to you. All right.
Did you not get the all black memo today, bro?
I missed it.
Oh yeah.
Looking
Look at us.
chic.
So before you tell us what happened out there on the phone calls, Harrison, your take on Michael Malone's decision to sort of, hey, we'll let the youngins handle this. We don't have to say punting because I think they tried to win.
Yeah.
But to not bring Jokic back in.
I agreed with it. I was fine with it. The Nuggets aren't playing for seeding, and that group was playing pretty well late in the fourth. And
so you think it was because they were playing well?
Well, it was partly that, and it was
Yeah.
also partly because he didn't want to play Jokic super heavy minutes.
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr. has played probably like more minutes than he ever has since his AAU days over the last 4 days.
Right.
That he took him out with 2 minutes left. So I think those guys playing well was like obviously a nice little addition, but I don't think that was the reason. He wanted to rest Jokic, and I agree with it. Some people are pissed about it though, but
what do you mean some people?
it's on Twitter. See some
So people on
about it.
wait, people on Twitter were upset.
Twitter's
You
not
gotta
real
be
life.
kidding me.
Get out in your community, Harrison, and talk to some real people.
People on Twitter, like anger is the default emotion on
Yeah,
Twitter.
I mean they're
feel.
angry because
Wait,
it was
are
a
you talking about
winnable
me
game.
specifically?
Yes, you specifically.
They're
You lose your
angry
shit
because they
every
wanted
time.
the funky music and they could taste
know,
it. They
and I
could
could say,
smell it.
I wanted the
was
funky
bobbing my
music
head.
too, man. I
But
wanted
Dan,
it.
if you're angry, just think about it this way. Portland's a team that can push the Lakers the hardest, I think, out of the teams contending for the 8th seed. If they could tire LA at all, take a game or two off of them, that's good for Denver if they got to play the Lakers later in the playoffs.
I agree with this, but this dialogue is going to crack me up when the Lakers beat Portland in like 6 games. But I do generally agree with it.
4-4 blowouts. All right, so tell me what I'm very curious what Michael Malone had to say. What questions were asked? Did he have any was anybody tough with him saying, "Hey, what the hell with this stuff"? I mean,
he was asked if why he went with that group, why he took Jokic
He loves when
and
you
he just
question
said,
Yeah, for sure.
He actually said, "quote I didn't even want to play Nikola Jokic tonight."
yeah, I respect that.
Right.
I didn't want him to play either.
Right. I was surprised Jokic and Porter actually played as much as they did.
Yeah, especially Porter.
Yeah, to be quite honest. So he was asked that, and he pretty much said what I just said, and then he really just gave a tip of the cap to the guys who did close out the game.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Portland's fighting for their lives right
Yeah.
now. Damian Lillard was locked in tonight. Yeah, he got some questionable calls, but I mean, he was locked in. They needed this game, obviously way more than Denver, who's not playing for seeding. So they really needed this, and the Nuggets were playing 5 guys who haven't played a ton of NBA minutes this year. So he really gave a tip of the cap to those
I heard he
guys.
got spicy when asked about Michael Porter being locked up or something. That's what I heard. There was some spice.
Yeah, well, I asked him about
there we go.
them shadowing Porter with Gary
Attaboy.
Trent Jr.
Oh wow! So you're the one that brought the
for
spice out.
most of the game.
Thank you.
No, because I thought we talked about this while the game was going on. It was
was a
an
good
interesting test for Porter.
Yeah.
He got more attention tonight than he obviously did in his last 2 games, and he's going to get more attention going forward. So it was
Certainly
curious
he
to
will
see,
going forward.
Yeah, it was curious to see how he would react to that. And Mike Malone pretty much just said, "Yeah, they shattered him, and he had 27 and 12."
How about that? Malone is in his corner harder than anyone on the planet.
True or false? Michael Malone's an MPJ guy now.
Oh,
A full-on
yeah.
MPJ stand.
That's a hard
He's
yup.
full on.
That's a
He's got
hard
burner
yup.
accounts and everything.
He keeps having mic drop moments about Michael
really
Porter
does.
Jr. He keeps dropping the mic over and over.
Yeah, especially with that really pre-written but not necessarily self-aware mic drop from the last game.
Right.
How was he not in the Rising
I
Stars?
know,
Are you
yeah.
freaking
kidding me?
Well, Michael.
Isn't there that
We
Eric
all know
Andre
why.
meme where he shoots him and then it's like, why would so and so do that? That's what I feel like.
We do have a commenter pointing out their favorite bit already in the DNVR bar setup is Harrison sitting down and rehashing the most recent topic that we just. Not your fault, but objectively funny.
It's objectively funny. All right, Michael Porter had to have talked. Did he talk tonight?
He did talk. A more subdued Porter, I'd say, after this game. Maybe he's tired. I don't know.
Maybe he was sad about this loss.
Yeah, probably. He got pulled with 2 minutes left. But we were talking about the Gary Trent thing, and there was that story we saw on Twitter kind of circulating where those two faced off in high school. And
You're 4 for 4.
man. Well, here's some more
Keep going,
details
though.
on that. Gary Trent apparently, this is per Porter, held him to his lowest scoring game ever on the EYBL circuit. Ever.
Wow.
So it was a little more personal, but they're still buds, I think. They're still close.
Can I tell you guys something? Portland is really shaping up to be Denver's perfect rival.
It is.
And I know that Denver can't play Portland almost certainly unless it was in the final round of the Western Conference. So this year maybe not destined. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But Gary Trent, Michael Porter, just adding to let's add a few new people. Is there anybody Bull hates on the roster that we can add to this lineup?
I mean, any young guy Bull's probably played against. Guy played at 4 high schools in 4 years all across the country.
So they think they're still boys, but he locked him up. So that was the story. He locked him up for his lowest point total. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and then MPJ dropped an easy 27 and 12 on him.
But Trent dropped 27 of his own, and I thought in the third quarter
Trent was on fire.
And I thought in the third Trent checked him well. So I mean, really
Second,
a great matchup between the two of them, to be honest.
We were asking this earlier, but do you feel like you have a read
third.
on how tough Michael Porter is, mentally and physically, just in those moments? Somebody challenges him, somebody takes it at him.
I don't have a good read, but I feel like he's super competitive.
Very competitive for
He's
sure.
super competitive. If he gets locked in a matchup like that, he's gonna go at his guy, and he's not gonna be afraid to go at his guy.
Yeah.
So like, if he's going shot for shot with Gary Trent, like I think that's a little bit of a insight there. Super competitive, and he's not gonna back down.
Yeah.
Like he's been the number one guy forever, the top scorer, the number one option.
He's built for this.
He's been in those showdowns before.
Yeah.
He's been in those showdowns against other top 10 guys before.
Let's hype this up then real quick, guys, because I think we have the bad taste in our mouth. We have all these different things, but there were moments again today, moments again in this game.
More than one.
I'm telling you, it's just it makes me feel exactly like watching Yoke back in 2016, where you're like, this dude is a freaking stud.
Yeah.
This dude isn't just like good. This is a superstar.
And the yin to Yoke's yang this time around.
And a
too.
yin to
I mean, dude, the shots he hit in the fourth quarter.
Big boy shots.
Big boy.
No, I wanna
and
know-
like the youth. What's the sorry, Eric, but what's the defense for that? You know what I mean? Just rise up and be taller.
Literally. Like, what was the last time we had somebody score 30 points 3 games in a row for the Nuggets?
Almost happened.
But I mean, even 27. I'm rounding up. Like,
Yeah,
when
let's
was the
round
last
up.
time we had that? Like,
27. Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with it. Yeah.
I'm kind of waiting for
Jamal
his.
Murray goes off. He falls away. Like Jokic, he's not a noted scorer.
Well, let's
like
go to
all
him
the
as
time.
we're talking
They've
about
had-
him here.
they
Then
don't
let's
have a
pull
guy
him
like
up
this.
because I actually haven't seen these highlights, and I'm sure I forgot like half of these plays. This is the thing about MPJ is he's got so many different there's in a game that you almost forget them all.
I mean,
just
they
right
also
off the
all
bat, let's
look
just
like
pull
this.
up. Let's just pull up from the top of the key.
The boards though, man. I mean, he's so
I love it.
active.
That was
Yeah.
a great
He's so
tap right
active.
there.
Little great tap and
This
then
was
takes
a
it right
hell
at
of a
Nurk.
finish.
See, those are we talk about easy buckets. Like that one looked like it was supposed to be blocked, and it looks like he only glided to the rim.
And
These
God,
ones, like that's a foul.
I
That's
do
an
hold
inland-
my breath
Man,
every time he falls.
Yeah,
dude,
Denver did
but-
not get a very nice whistle tonight.
I mean, his finishing around the
Look
rim
at-
is
look-
almost underrated compared to his shooting and rebounding.
Oh, I
completely
agree. I agree.
And what's the D for that, dude? I mean, that is the defense.
So that's his go-to. The Hezzy. The
Yep.
Hezzy pull-up is his go-to, just like Kevin Durant.
And you know, Wyndon and I were talking about this. He's not that fast. The handle's not super tight.
Those
but
were all of the highlights.
when you have to respect the jumper to that extent, you know, he doesn't necessarily need a lot of moves to break guys down.
We were talking about this. Like, I don't feel like he has a huge arsenal of off-the-dribble moves. He's got the cross, the hesitation, the
hezzy.
step back, but he's really freaking good at those moves that he has in
How
his
many more do
bag.
you need, right?
He's
Also-
already mastered them.
Also, the just like jump and shoot is like you can't block it. So
And when these were coming, like, all right, Yoke's out, fourth quarter. We don't have any business winning this game. Crunch time. Watch me.
Yeah,
Watch me do
exactly.
me. Like, that is star shit.
he's
That's
definitely
star
starting
shit.
to like take on the role of I'm a piece of this team. I mean, it was funny. He
100%,
said it in
man.
the lead up to it. I think guys like Will Barton and kind of like urging him on and saying, "Hey, man, embrace this. We want you
Be
to be
you."
the guy. Like that's what we want from here. Is really."
God, do you remember what, like, a week and a half ago?
I don't.
When we were going down the list of what we needed each player to do, the one word that
Gee,
each player.
None
What
of
was
it
it? What was
matters.
Porter's word?
Mine was for him was minutes.
Yeah.
Good word,
I'm
Eric.
telling you, those are there.
That
Those are
aged
here.
well.
Those
But
are
it's
here.
crazy. Like we now all of a sudden like Porter's just part of the starting lineup, and it's just like a completely different world. Like,
And it was just, was he playing or not?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
it.
I keep waiting for his scoring to fall off in one of these games. Like, I'm sure it will, but I
mean-
thought it might have been tonight. No, 27.
If he plays a full game, it's another 30-piece double-double
It
tonight.
really does feel like it. I mean,
Yeah.
right now, him being held to like 10 points almost feels unfathomable. I know that sounds crazy, but I can't picture it. He had 10 points
Right.
in 3 minutes again tonight.
I
Immediately.
still can't believe they set the line at 15.5 2 games
Yeah, I know.
ago.
That's
Like,
so
in
great.
hindsight,
well,
how
earlier in the
silly.
year, I mean, he was not a guaranteed bucket like he is now. Earlier in the year, and like his ankle was hurting him.
Yeah.
His ankle was hurting him.
Yeah,
But
it
when,
definitely
before
was.
the game happened,
Confidence too. Confidence too.
Absolutely.
Before the game happened, we looked at each other and said, honestly, they could just forfeit this game and we'd be pleased with how the bubble's gone so far.
100%.
And then the game happened and it's a loss, but I think you have to feel even better. Because a third straight game from MPJ just means more than any win or loss.
Let's get to some of these other guys. Jeremy Grant tonight, I thought 7 for 11, 18 points. I thought he continued to play. He's kind of growing into his.
Yeah, he just scores 19 points every game.
So the post fadeaway shot, has he always had that?
I don't love that one. I'm not gonna lie.
He's going to it a lot.
He is, and he's knocking it down. Like he's shooting a great percentage on it right now. But I don't. Yeah, it's like the Plumlee hook shot. Like he's probably. I think Plumlee had like on Synergy, his like post efficiency was really like 90th percentile. I mean, I was like, man, I don't care. I don't want him posting up.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant's getting a lot of action though. Like he's filling a ton of different roles, playing small forward, playing power forward.
What do we think?
He's doing a lot out there. There's a lot of Jeremy Grant.
All types of forwards
going on.
That was the subject of your list, right, Adam? Was Jeremy Grant sort of exploiting mismatches? And what are your thoughts of him maybe playing at the 3 for that?
I love it. I'm actually all for it. I mean, this is the thing is, here's one of the stories of tonight. The guards went off for Portland, and it's not just the 3-pointers, but also just felt like they could get into the paint whenever they wanted, and Denver couldn't contain them. Now, here's the thing. I don't think Denver's guards are great at containing other guards. So now that you're playing like forwards in the guard spots, I don't know that there's that big of a drop-off. I mean, let's be honest. Portland has their full roster. Were more rested than Denver. They had every advantage going into this game, and Denver playing big without their main guy still almost won this game. I'm not sure that they're going to get blown by. They're going to have vulnerabilities, but I'm not sure it's not worth it to just play. Jeremy Grant, you're a small forward now. Bull, you're a small forward. Michael Porter, you're a shooting guard and small forward. Like you're playing those spots. I don't know. I don't know if you're losing as much as you think you are when you do that.
Well, length makes up for a lot of things on the defensive end. Length compensates for getting blown by at times because then Grant can come in from the weak side or Porter or Bull or something. God. So Grant or length helps you out in those areas.
Do you have any takes on Jeremy Grant tonight? I mean, does anybody have I feel like he keeps getting these numbers and going under the radar.
I feel like he needs to. He's grown more comfortable in this regard, but we talk about MPJ getting easy points off Yoke. I think Grant really needs to embrace that he can also do this out of the dunker spot with sharp cuts. It should be easier for him playing alongside Yoke.
I've criticized Jeremy Grant's athleticism and the way he deploys that athleticism on drives. Last 2 games, he has been up from an F- to, I would say, a C-.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a real improvement.
Maybe
But
he reads the list.
I was going to say,
though, you know what, though? I really do believe this, though. Like, we've seen Bull's passing look really good. Well, he bit around Yoke. I wonder if there's a little something of, like, you just learn little tricks. Michael Porter just goes so hard at the basket every time for rebounds, for drives, for whatever, for cuts. I wonder if Jeremy Grant's seeing this and, like, to your point, saying, hey, I can do this stuff, too. Because even if he doesn't have the natural sort of brain for it, he still is 6'9" with a super reach and super athleticism.
And the guy people forget about on this team.
Yeah, and I mean, there's something to the fact that these are lineups we've never seen before. Every night, like they're just learning how to play together.
It's also interesting with Grant because he's going to be playing. Well, if/when the Nuggets do get healthy, he's going to be playing a completely different role then. With a healthy roster than he is now. He's not going to get nearly the amount of shot attempts. He's going to be more of like a fill-in-the-gaps guy than a guy who's getting the ball on the block and shooting a fadeaway, right?
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see how he kind of adjusts, again, when the Nuggets are healthy.
It's a good question, I think.
Yeah. Going down the list, Torrey Craig tonight, 24 minutes, 13 points. The only note I have on him is that he was pretty had no chance against Damian Lillard tonight, which is really discouraging because one of the things you think about, and we've talked about Torrey Craig, like, all right, guys, you have to live with a lot of negative Torrey Craig things, but you're going to get him against Harden. You're going to get him against Westbrook. You're going to get him against Dame. Tonight, Dame just torched him. Him.
Now, no Gary, too, and it's usually the combination of those two guys, but look, if
no
Craig,
Millsap either.
But if Craig's not shutting that point A guy down.
He's amazing. Like, Craig is like the most exploitable good defensive player.
Totally.
That's a perfect way to put it.
He also had a handful of fouls here. What do you have? Harrison doesn't have the reads pulled up. I don't think.
We can add the breaks in.
We'll do it in post.
Add them in post.
We'll do it not live.
We'll do it live. We do have a full bowl package. I think there's only like 2 highlights.
Let's go.
Let's take a look, and then that'll lead us into our here.
I have one bowl.
I don't remember the highlights other than I remember this one.
That breakdown.
The handle.
That was fun.
The handle.
So that's a foul. She's fouled every time he shoots.
That's a foul.
Every time.
Oh yeah. So what
This
does he
is
have
my
tonight?
favorite.
Oh, this one was great.
Oh,
My, the touch is just incredible. He really does turn the basketball into a helium balloon, doesn't he?
I love that one. We gotta see
A
more of
helium
that.
filled balloon. Oh yeah, I wish that Nurk would have tried to jump and block it, and he would have just been
See,
completely.
Nurk made a better business decision than Bull made against him. Yeah.
Bull got a welcome to the league, sadly, courtesy of the worst team on earth. But
Torrey Craig looked like a golden retriever to me, and I know we're past that, but I'm back on it. He's just
we're
like,
not going backwards.
just chasing.
Bull's night tonight, Harrison.
I thought he was good. I have no idea what his stat line was. Like,
So
you could
24
tell me
minutes
whatever it
tonight,
was.
9 points, 5 rebounds, 4 of 7 shooting, including 1 of 2 from 3. So, good numbers, good number production for the minutes he played.
I think he's improving. Actually, I don't think he looks as lost out there, specifically on the defensive end, than he did in his first couple of games and in those scrimmages. On offense, you can still kind of tell he's a little uncomfortable at times. Defensively, I just feel like he's got a better feel. And there were even a couple times tonight where he was matched up on a smaller Portland guard, and they tried to dribble around him, and he stayed with them. So I thought he had some impressive
blocked
moments.
some shots, affected some shots for sure. I think Malone's motivation for not bringing the starters in was twofold. I think one, health, but two, I think it was we've all talked about is Bull going to get minutes and this or that. This was a meaningful game that I'm sure Bull felt pressure for, because it's like, no matter what, even if Malone's like, don't worry, go out there, we don't get whatever, he's still like, I don't want to be responsible for losing this. And I just think that's invaluable experience for him. He would not have gotten these in any other circumstance other than Malone saying, Yoke, you rest.
Right. And there being 6 players out.
Yeah, there being that many.
I thought tonight in the fourth he didn't quite understand the situation, which was starters are out. Actually, MPJ's out now. Don't hesitate, dude. You can shoot.
Yeah.
You have the green light right now. And I thought he was a little stuck in between mindsets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think it's also very understandable when you get posterized as bad as you did. I mean, let's be honest.
Oh
guys.
my!
That was a 10 out of 10.
That was a 10.
That was a rough one.
That dude looks so strong sometimes, and then he just shoots an inexplicable bunny when he's wide open. And
I didn't miss that. I mean, Nurkic tonight had a lot of those. He was 9 of 20, so he finished with a decent enough percentage. But my God, I don't miss some of those little flip shots.
The flip shot, when he hurries it and rushes.
The same guy that does that dunk pulls that shot. It's so weird.
Jeremy Grant does the same stuff. Monte Morris tonight, 29, basically 30 minutes, goes for 11 points, 1 assist, 1 turnover.
1 assist.
1 assist.
It's the starting point.
It was
guard,
Jokic
right?
taking up all the assists.
That's true. It really was a lot of Jokic ball tonight.
Did you guys hit on that?
Yeah, we hit on it. Yeah.
Am I allowed to discuss it?
Can I share my theory? It might be the same as your guys's, but when the Nuggets are down, Jamal Murray, Will Barton, guys who are high usage players, they're forced to play a more team-oriented style of play. There's not as much like your turn, my turn.
Is that a good thing or bad thing though?
Well, I mean, I think it's a bad thing in the long run because you need those guys, and like the Nuggets aren't going anywhere if they don't have Jamal Murray healthy. I don't think.
Definitely not.
But when they don't have those guys, they're kind of forced to play this style, and it can lead to some amazing wins, like Utah.
So here's the thing, man. I do feel like I hate saying this because I feel like I'm like stirring up shit or something and I'm not trying to. I do think it's a little bit of a talking point, and that is that the Nuggets went January without anybody, kind of like they have now, and they just dominated. They cleaned up.
Yeah.
Early February, everybody started coming back, and there really was like, remember Yoke went in a slump. The team the ball wasn't popping, and there were some like big Murray games. And I'm not saying this is like a problem. This guy is a cancer or this or that. But it is weird to me that the team just seems to get more into this type of flow and this type of rhythm when they're so short and so dependent on Yoke. And that all goes away when those guys are all back. I don't know. There's something to it, maybe. All right, I guess I'm
You gotta find the best of both worlds.
You got to find the best of both worlds.
And that's the thing, man. We are all getting excited about Yoke plus Murray is great. Yoke plus MPJ is great. But they do have to figure out what it all looks like.
I'm really honestly getting nervous that we're just losing time. There's like not enough time to figure that out.
That's the real concern.
Balance is like.
So if they're not back on Saturday, where's your, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your concern?
I'm already like super concerned, to be honest.
1 to 10, where's your concern?
I would put my concern at
look at this. Maybe I should have pulled
a
these
7.
At a 7. Harrison, where's your concern at here?
I'm lower. I'd say I'm a 4.
Vote.
5, but if it gets to that game and they're not back, I mean,
this is 100% how I feel. I am a 5, but I go up to a 7.5 on Saturday, and if
Yeah.
on Monday they're not back, I'm up to like an 8.5. It's
We got the silver lining from the injuries. Now we need the guys back.
Yeah,
All
Now we
three
need
of
the
them
guys
back? Or just Jamal?
I think just Jamal. I look, Jamal and Will. To me, it's I would go Jamal, Will, and then Gary. But Jamal certainly. This team, we know they're not going anywhere
Yeah.
without Jamal.
Man, part of me feels so bad for Gary, like missing out on this really important time, not only for his career but for the team. But then also, like, I feel angry about it, like, which you can't feel. But it's like I don't understand. I really don't understand how the injuries are such that as they are after all this time off. I realize you can't really get into that, but like, it's so confusing and it's so frustrating as a fan to just sit and just know what we have.
Health is a skill. I mean, it really is. And right now, there's 3 guards all starting for the Nuggets who just. Calling somebody injury prone is like such a hateful, like mean thing to say, and I hate to even say
It's
it.
not
But
fair,
But at least if we just look at the track record right now, it's like I don't know. If they can stay healthy.
None of it's fair, but it's exquisitely frustrating.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I think it would be uncalled for to put blame on any one person, but like the arising property is frustration. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What you got, Harrison?
I was just gonna say before the game last night, I was watching on my very legal internet stream.
Is that right?
Yeah, and they kind of had like the in-arena camera going, and right before tip, it was on Gary Harris, Will Barton, and Jamal Murray warming up.
They look all right, or were they hobbling?
It's not like they weren't doing anything.
We need Dr. Harrison. Dr.
They were doing stuff. They were moving. It didn't look like they're that far away, to me at least. I mean, I'm 3,000 miles away and watching on an in-arena screen, but they were doing stuff. They weren't just like shooting in place. They were moving.
Yeah. Keep looking for some questions here if they're popping up. We don't need to really talk about Keita Bates-Diop, do we? I mean, he played,
I think you want to talk.
24
about
minutes tonight. 3 points, 3 rebounds. That's all I got. PJ Dozier, 13 points, 4 assists. I feel like I have a much better grasp of what kind of player PJ is, and there's some real pluses. There's some real minuses.
Yeah.
What are the minuses?
I think he's a little too aggressive.
Yeah.
Again, we talk about he obviously his shot isn't pretty. He hits that one tonight that I think is maybe one of the luckiest like regular threes I've ever seen. So there's some of that stuff with the shot, but then also just I don't know that I trust him to be the right level of aggressive
I can't see that
through games. What are we looking at?
On that couch. What does that mean? I should be laying on that couch? Oh, because we're talking about my boy PJ Composure.
I don't really have anything for Monte or Plumlee either, Tyler Cook. But I do want to go to there's 2 topics here I want to go to. One is we've been a little negative here. I honestly believe that this game had as many positives as it did. Like
I don't think we've been negative.
overall.
I think
you think we've been all right?
We're on the same page there.
Because I actually feel mostly positive about this game, except if this was the Orlando Magic, if this was the Los Angeles Clippers, if this was even the Dallas Mavericks or even Houston Rockets, it'd be different. But it's arguably my second least favorite team behind the Lakers. Nobody's going to pass the Lakers.
Really?
Of course. But Portland, I just want the rivalry. I want the smoke. I want all these things. And there's just something that doesn't sit right with me saying this game doesn't matter to us. We'll just play these guys down. There's just something about it that's just because it's Portland.
But isn't it a bit of a cocky move by Denver? The last 2 games these guys have played, Denver has just let Portland win both of them.
Which is wild because Portland beat them in the Western Conference Finals. But, I mean, you're absolutely right, Adam. That's why there are probably some fans who maybe aren't loving our silver lining positivity here. It's Portland, and people wanted it.
Yeah.
It's Portland. It's Nurkic. It's Melo. It's CJ. It's Dame. It's Zach Collins.
See, I kind of like CJ and Dame.
It's
I don't
okay.
really have a problem with those two.
Dude.
It's
The
okay
list
to
was
want
dropping
this
off for
one.
me. Now it's Gary Trent Jr.
Gary Trent
who I
Jr.
actually like.
He's good.
He's like fun to
He's a player.
dislike, Yeah, like I respect it.
Yeah.
I just think everyone will wake up tomorrow and realize, like, all right, would have been nice, but
Yeah.
forward.
Not
onwards we
everybody
go.
will wake up tomorrow.
Jesus, dude. I mean, you're not wrong.
How dark do we want to get on
Man.
the losers
That was
lounge
going to
over
be
here?
like a hypecast kind of or something.
I'm ready for it.
Sorry, I went
I've
really.
been waiting for this the whole
I
time.
went really, really dark. No, Harrison, who's
Let's
the
get real.
What team pisses you off the most? Just like irrationally gets you under your skin.
I mean, Portland's the only rival the Nuggets have, or the only thing
Utah?
close to a rival. the
Utah
Nuggets
is right
have.
up there.
Utah?
oh, their
Is
next
it? Are
opponent.
they though?
You could
Yes.
argue
Yeah.
the Gobert Mitchell angle, I think, is what sort of
Absolutely.
the kindling
There's
there.
there's no sense of bad blood though. Yes, there have been some good games. Jokic and
Portland?
Gobert. No, Utah.
Oh,
Jokic and Gobert have had some good battles, but there's not look, there's not much bad blood in the NBA as it is, but there's a little bit with Nuggets Blazers.
A little bit, man. They drive me crazy. Like,
Yeah.
if this game, I mean, just this, like I said, the second I saw the player who's in, who's out report, and I saw there was like 100 names on it. I was like, all right, like, this isn't going to go well.
I'm going to go record a golf pod.
I'm wearing shorts.
I'm wearing shorts.
How am I not going to record a golf pod? I hate that I'm wearing shorts.
Last year when
I
they
could
tried
see
to
this
turn
on the
Jokic
water.
into like some evil villain that's like the
very
dirtiest
insecure.
play, it was like the most annoying thing ever. It's Portland. They got Nurkic. They knocked Denver out. But here's where I want to go with the Nurkic thing, and this might be a tough one. We talked about Michael Porter Jr.'s toughness, and you had a great point. I think you threw it out there. You're like, Michael Malone is making him tough. Might have been your point. I don't remember. One of you
was
guys had a
mine.
great point.
Is it a good point? I'll let
His
you know if
memory
I'm-
is 30 seconds
It is
long.
30 seconds
You should just
long.
claim all my good
That's
points.
true. But you talked about Michael Malone is toughening him up,
Yeah.
and I really do believe there's something to this of like tough love, and if they can't handle it, then
Yeah.
they were never going to be able to handle it.
Absolutely.
And I don't know that Michael Porter could have handled this a year and a half ago, and I do feel like there's something to Malone sort of injecting some toughness into him, molding him. But the flip side of that, Yusuf Nurkic is a hell of a player. I mean, let's be honest. I know this is going to annoy you. I'm going to look over here for this.
Yeah,
Nurkic is a hell of a player. He's
I think he's overrated, but
in my opinion, he's a top 6-7 center in the NBA. He makes that team a lot better. He's really good. He was, if you just put all the prospects that have come through Denver, he's in the top 5 in my opinion.
Right.
You've got Jokic, you got MPJ, you got Murray above him. After that, I mean, he's up there. And it didn't work out, I think, in part because, in my opinion, Yusuf Nurkic was soft as Charmin mentally, and he could not handle the things that were thrown at him, both including Michael Malone being tough on him. Michael Malone flew his ass all the way out to Bosnia to try to be like, yo, look what I did. I came all the way out here to try to get to know you better, and the dude still couldn't handle it. But my point is, Nurkic has succeeded. It worked out for Nurkic. Nurkic maybe didn't need the tough love, or he needed some other type of leadership to get to where he needed. And so I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting. Do you guys see it the same way that I do? That Nurkic wasn't cut out for Michael Malone.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean he wasn't good.
Well, I think that there's a lot of factors at play with Nurkic that
Yeah, I
even
know
go
you
beyond
do.
that.
Yeah.
But I do think that Michael Malone is an Army general. I think that
Yeah.
he comes from a long line of police.
Yeah.
And I think that he has that mindset. You need to
Nurkic's
earn your.
dad's a cop, by the way.
That's what I'm
I think they
saying.
could have bonded on
That's
that.
what I'm saying. But Nurkic's dad is a cop. But you just need to earn your stripes with Malone. He will absolutely test you, and he will reward you handsomely if you rise to the occasion, and he will treat you coldly if you don't, if you don't arrive. And so, I don't know. I mean, I just don't think it was ever going to work out with Nurkic, not because of Malone, but more because of Jokic. And I don't think that he could lose. He could fathom the idea
the
of losing his
workout is
starting
one
job.
thing, though. The other thing is, could you just gotten the best out of him long enough to trade him, which is a real. I mean, that's what you do. They did not get Nurkic value for Nurkic.
Yeah, but if Terry Stotts puts Nurkic on the second unit, Nurkic does the exact same thing.
So you think
He
it was out of
absolutely
his
shuts
hands? It
down.
just had to be.
What are you going to do? You either start Nikola Jokic.
Jokic is better.
And he's better, and then Nurkic shuts down. What are you supposed to do in
Yeah.
that situation?
I agree
You can't
with you.
just you can't just flip flop.
I think it's because he's a softie.
I mean,
it's 'cause he's a
there's a
work.
story people in Portland like to tell where Damian Lillard's really the guy who changed Nurkic.
Oh, I think he is.
It's not Stotts. It's not the Trailblazers organization. It's Damian Lillard, and maybe he just obviously didn't connect with Malone that way or anybody else in Denver. And Denver also didn't have a leader like Lillard to kind of take him under his wing. I also think the Nuggets have learned from Nurkic, and they learned from Moutier, and that's had a big part in bringing Porter along slowly, bringing Bol along slowly,
Yes.
and probably bringing every other highly regarded guy along slowly from here on out.
you got to earn those stripes.
Yeah.
Moutier was just given the keys to the car, and he wrecked it.
He did wreck it.
I'd be
He
curious
wrecked
to
it for
see
2 years, and they just kept well, try it again.
And I'd be curious to see how much of Dame's leadership holds up if Nurkic was on the second unit again. I mean, at the end of the day, I think he wants to start, and he could not start because Jokic
You
is
think
better.
Dame Lillard would be like, "Oh man, we got to work this guy up." If Nurkic starts pouting and then leaves the game at halftime, Dame Lillard's like, "Oh, let's go chop it up. Let's be boys."
Yeah. No, but you know what? He might have ran out there into the parking lot and smacked him in the face and said, "Get your ass back in."
Definitely.
Some people just have the clout, to do that. And I think Lillard's one of
Portland,
those guys.
and also, you know what though? Portland needs Nurkic.
They do.
Who's their
They really
third
do
best
need
guy?
him. Yeah, they really
Denver
do need
didn't.
him.
If you're not with
Gary
it, you're out of
Trent.
here. Yeah,
Gary
right.
Trent,
Shit,
yeah,
dude. Good point.
Quickly
Take it
climb
back.
in the ranks. Michael Porter, though, I mean, things are shaking out very nicely for his development. I mean, I can't tell people. It was funny. Somebody on Twitter, I think is Carter Rodriguez, who covers the Cavs.
Yep.
I think he posted Denver should get on the call or the phone right as the season ends and offer MPJ for Beal. And I'm like, am I crazy when I'm like,
hell no.
Hell no? Are we kidding?
No.
Denver does not win a championship with Bradley Beal, in my opinion. I mean, they're really good. They're probably better than they are now, but they do not win a championship
Why
with
would
Bradley
they do
Beal.
that?
I don't think they
Well,
would.
you have to understand other people's perspective, and it's
I know,
totally
but,
fair.
Well, we were talking about Beal for 6 months.
We were talking, and
Yeah.
look, Beal is an established superstar. When you have a player that, I mean, whose shoes can we kind of throw ourselves into? That's like Bagley has 3 awesome games, and then people are like, King should trade him right now for Beal or something. It would make sense from an outsider's perspective, but I think Nuggets fans watching him and as closely as we have, it isn't just 3 games. He is doing right now exactly what we thought he would do with extended minutes, because whenever he got like 15 minutes, he was awesome.
Right. He's doing what he did in January, but
How many
just
of his
with
minutes,
30 minutes.
He has like 800 minutes on the season, or a little bit less than that.
He's doing
How
so
many
much
of those
more.
minutes were in like 3-minute increments?
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
Goes
a
in,
lot of them.
yeah, looking over his shoulder.
And so people might look at the numbers and be like, well, he wasn't that productive
Totally.
in his first 200 minutes. It's like, yeah, those were 1 minute at a time, just nonstop.
Yeah,
now that he's actually playing, he's incredible.
I'm going to laser in on the 3-game 30-point double-double.
Yeah.
Sample size. Excuse me if that's what I care more about.
Yeah, there's also the January sample size where he was like this, but only playing 20 minutes instead of 30.
This is who he is.
This is like way,
This
he's
is who
way
he
more
is.
dynamic now than he was in January, though. Like, this is undeniable. But a lot of it is the hand is forced.
Yeah.
So, maybe you're right. Maybe it's the exact same. It's just minutes.
Michael Porter Jr. of the Nuggets is the first player in NBA history, rookie or otherwise, to have at least 25, 12, and 4 3-pointers made in 3 consecutive games. American Sports Filter, not a real stat, but you know what? It's encouraging. It tells you rookies don't really do what he's doing.
You know who else had all these filtered stats? Jokic. Remember when Jokic's first year when it was like he's the only guy to ever have this, and they were like, well, those aren't real. But it is kind of true. It's just like the type of lines he puts up are unique.
Well, yeah, it's like, what's the information you're pulling from this? Do rookies have the type of stretches he's had? No. What's the most comparable 2-3 game sample size we have of a rookie? It's Shaquille O'Neal in 1993. To me, that's telling. To me, that's telling.
Another thing that's telling. Jokic only 8 points tonight. Outside of that, Michael Porter 27, Jeremy Grant 18, Torrey Craig 13, Monte Morris 11, PJ Dozier 13, Bol 9. You have all those guys in double figures. I mean, basically the entire roster scored. 30 assists tonight. Jokic has 13 in just a handful of minutes. That's Denver Nuggets basketball. I mean, that the number one most encouraging thing to me is Michael Porter. Number 2 is that the Nuggets seem to have found this rhythm, and now the big question is, can they sustain it when everybody gets back? Any finishing thoughts?
Yeah, dude, I'm more in on MPJ than I was 24 hours ago, which I didn't think was possible.
That's not possible.
I'm in, dude. It's 3 straight games.
I'm with you. Tonight, he could have had 10 points and 4 rebounds, and I'd be like, I get it, back-to-back, all this stuff. But he didn't. He came out there, and I would say in the first quarter and in the first half of the fourth quarter, he was the best player on the court.
Yeah.
With some adversity that I think was encouraging, how he handled it.
Yeah.
Any other takeaways, Eric?
I cannot wait for Jamal Murray to come back. I really like it. I'm getting very stressed out. I've got a lot of consternation. I'm finding myself discounting big parts of these games, even when we're winning. I'm just like really nervous about this team not coming together the way that we all thought they were going to, and not having time to congeal. So I'm just nervous. I'm nervous. Do we have any idea? Like, is Malone said anything about this? Like,
he was
blink twice if he's back.
He seemed very pessimistic on the pregame call.
Oh,
but
God.
I've got to think a lot of that was just like, oh my God, another game with none of these guys out there.
30 assists tonight, 31 assists last night, 23 the night before, so that one's a little bit down. But 2 back-to-back games with 30 assists. Ball's popping,
That's
guys.
Denver Nuggets basketball.
Ball's popping.
That's Denver Nuggets basketball, and I agree, it's not a coincidence that they've had these high assist games when they've been severely shorthanded.
Yes or no, or whatever, one-word answer. Higher or lower on this team in the playoffs than you were a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Lower, because I got to see them actually have a roster. But we get 4 games with Jamal Murray, I'm going to be higher for sure. Their ceiling has been elevated, but I mean, we're halfway through the bubble and Murray's still not playing.
I'm much higher, because Michael Porter Jr. I mean, like, really, just the emergence of that one player being so unbelievably dynamic has absolutely changed my outlook. I mean, going into the scrimmages, I mean, it just looked like it was a sideshow. We saw Bol playing. It was just like, sort of interesting, but none of it felt sustainable. I still don't think any of it is. So, but just seeing the emergence of Michael Porter Jr. and giving Jokic another very reliable
It's a
other
long
option.
one-word answer.
There's layers to confidence because I think Michael Porter's a very confident guy, just like irrationally confident or whatever. But there's another layer to this, which is he's still trying to not be a ball hog. You can tell, and he passed up some shots. When he is comfortable with where he belongs in the and everything, and he's just like the KD mindset of nobody can guard, because he had that in the fourth. Part of what was so fun is those back-to-back threes where it was like, oh, you could feel that he's like, I'm just shooting it. I don't care who's in front of me, and he drains them. We're getting that guy within 2 years, maybe sooner. Yeah. And that guy is the guy I can't wait to see, because as good as he is, Michael Porter with a green light and a killer instinct is something else.
Yeah. I'm much higher. I'm with Eric. Like, Porter's the difference maker they didn't have last year or even before this. And I think Jamal will be out there. I'm most confident in him. And I think we saw in the scrimmage how he doesn't really need too much ramp-up time. He can just kind of get out there and have a great game. So I'm definitely higher, and I think he should be starting. I think he will be starting when everybody gets healthy.
Yeah, I don't know how there's no way you can't start him.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about this later on because I will find out. But last one I do want to ask, Michael Porter will be the second best player on this team when?
Halfway through next year.
Halfway through next season.
It could be like 3 weeks from now, man.
Yeah, he might honestly already be the second best player on this team. I'm not even kidding. Like, we need to see Jamal, because
it'd be interesting to see how many times in his career Jamal has scored 27 or more 3 times.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know if he has.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Jamal has been so up and down, and what we saw in that third scrimmage was like, all right, cool. Like, Jamal is like taking that step.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Like, also there's like the idea of, just objectively, like, this guy's good, this guy's good, this guy's good. On the team, who's the second best player? Michael Porter Jr. is making much more of his time with Jokic than Jamal was for a large part of his time.
The rate at which Porter's improving at, specifically on the defensive end, I think that means there's a chance he's the second best player on this team at some point during the playoffs. Like, if he keeps improving like he has, he's going to be an above-average defender by the playoffs.
I agree. Actually, can we start something here? His defense doesn't suck like people.
Wynn's been on this for
honestly, man, like he's mistake prone. But when you just talk about the value of what you do, it doesn't matter. He's good. Like, there's a lot of players that don't make mistakes who suck on defense.
He looks better right now every game.
I'm telling you, he looks better every game, and he's been engaged. He's been focused. I'm going to say definitively by the start of next season. It might be sooner. It might be right now. I'm with you, Eric.
Maybe at the latest.
I think there's a real chance he's already the second best player on this team.
Yeah, it might be now, man.
It really might be now. But I'm going to say definitively by the start of next season, he will be the second best player. That's exciting.
Holy cow. Seeing an
crazy,
image of James Harden's beard, it is unruly.
Oh,
unwieldy.
I remember. Cue up that outro music here. We'll get out of it. Thank you guys, everybody, for hanging out. We have no show for Friday, no casual Friday this week, but we're back Saturday. We got Utah. Hopefully another a winners lounge, and hopefully the debut of the future Denver Nuggets, which include Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic,
the actual Denver,
the real Denver Nuggets.
You know what? I will make one promise to everybody for this Saturday. I will wear pants.
Thank God.
Thank God for that. Very excited.
Those things
about
are blinding me.
Listen, I'm with you.
Everybody check out Eric on Big Drive Energy, our brand new golf podcast you should be subscribed to.
Yeah, check out Big Drive Energy. I was recording it earlier. I can tell Adam's a little annoyed about that. We're going to talk about it when we get off. Check us out on Big Drive Live, where myself and Spencer took down Rudo and Mitchell like a bunch of losers. And I was driving the ball very well, I have to say. So you might
enough of this. Allie, cut the feed. All right, look at this stat. Wow. Jamal Murray never scored 27 or more in 3 straight games.
Hey,
if he rolled it to 26, he's done it once. That's interesting.
Can I give you a hype note to close?
Yeah.
After game 1, you told us you were worried, both in Denver and in the bubble. Are the Nuggets going to get in on the party? Are they going to have fun? And everyone else is having fun. One more MPJ game and a win. The Nuggets are the life of the party.
I kind of agree. They've been fun. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time.